This video requires me to sit down because it's a little bit more of a tough topic. Welcome back to my channel, Feminine Women. I did that thing again where I did not turn on the volume of my microphone because I can't see it from the front, so I messed that up. That's okay. This is the third time filming this little segment, but we will be okay. I thank you so much if you're a returning subscriber. I thank you for your comments. I thank you for your likes. I thank you for your support on Instagram. If you add me on Twitter, I know many of you don't have Twitter. I'm just so grateful for this community, this small but strong community of feminine women who come together and who uplift each other in our life experiences. If you happen to stumble upon my channel, please hit that red subscribe button. I think that the mirror of it is here, but I keep doing it here. Because like I said, we are really a community of women who support each other, and I talk about different types of topics on this channel. I talk about some controversial topics, I talk about femininity, and I talk about homemaking. I am a Canadian homemaker. I'm also a former Miss Earth Canada, which also causes me to dabble in the topics of ladylike living. Today we're going to talk about friendship. And finding friends as a feminine woman, and especially as a homemaker, is a little bit difficult because you're living kind of a different lifestyle than the regular population. You are living femininely, which isn't so much encouraged in today's society. We kind of have this overemphasis on masculinity. And if you're living as a homemaker, you have probably made a deliberate decision to live a slightly slower life. This doesn't mean that as a homemaker you don't do a lot of things, but you are deliberately choosing to emphasize the most important things on your life, and you're making sacrifices in other ways. So finding people with similar values, finding friends that live a similar lifestyle is not really popular. It's not really that possible. If you're somebody like me, finding somebody who lives the exact same way that I do in my community does not happen. They might be out there, but it's very hard to find them. So with that being said, I am not an expert in this topic, but I like to bring you some content that is not so much talked about on the internet. I like to bring you some content of things that are not very discussed. And so every time that you like a video, it really means a lot to me. So without further ado, I want to talk about the first tip that I have, which is understanding that you might never find a ride or die like soulmate type of friend. That sounds very depressing when I say it, but I want you to understand, and a priest actually told me this when I was at a youth camp or something like that, that finding one friend that is kind of like the true reflection of the friendship that we have with Jesus is very difficult to find. And you can think about that if you're not a Christian, in the way that finding somebody that has the purest intention in friendship is something that is very difficult. It's kind of like a gem. And if you never find that type of ride or die friend, it is okay, because so many people in this world are not going to find that type of friendship. I'm talking about outside of marriage. And this doesn't mean that you're weird. This doesn't mean that you're a freak. This just is really a numbers type of thing. I also want you to understand that there are different types of friends. I will link some resources down below so that you get accustomed to understanding that not all friends are going to be the same. And friends come into our life sometimes just to really teach us a lesson, or they're just in our life for a certain period of time. And those are all things that, of course, they hurt, but those are all things that are normal. At the end of the day, you don't want to derive your happiness and your fulfillment from friends. This is also going to help you do some type of introspection to understand what kind of friend you want to be. Being that ride or die friend takes a lot of effort. And perhaps in this point in your life, you're not looking for that kind of friendship. You're looking more so for companionship. You're looking more so for similarities, and that is okay. Again, going back to understanding the types of different friends. The next one that I always emphasize, and I try to emphasize on my channel, is that you don't have to be exactly like somebody in order to be their friend. The way that I look at friendship is that I look at the core values that my friends have, and if they align. I have friends who live a different lifestyle than I do, but we have core values. For example, we care about the betterment of women. We care about being a good person. We care about family. Family is very important to us. You need to identify those values in yourself so that you can seek those values in other people. Seriously ask yourself, who am I? What do I value? What type of person do I want to be? These are all questions that are going to help you seek out similar values in other people. The next thing I want to encourage you to do is to put yourself out there. One of the larger reasons why I created this YouTube channel is because I wanted to meet like-minded people. I wanted to have friends from all over the world that embrace femininity and homemaking. And if you yourself run a femininity page or a femininity channel, chances are I have actually commented on your femininity blog, channel, etc., because I genuinely am interested in encouraging women to be the best version of themselves. And there are not many people in my community talking about femininity. So I have tried to be friends with other content creators or women who have similar values on the internet. I would encourage you to continue to be nice to people that you think you would want to be friends with. Not in a desperate way, but in a way that maybe you compliment them, or maybe you ask them a question about a similar topic that they are advocating for. You try to engage them in a conversation because that's kind of the basis to creating a friendship. At the same time, I want you to understand that not everybody is going to reciprocate your attempt to be a friend. And I'm going to tell you that it also requires some sort of emotional resilience in knowing that not everybody is putting themselves out there to be friends with other people. People are in activities, people engage in the community for all types of reasons, and their main purpose might not be cultivating friends. If you're a mom and you bring your children to a type of like social place where the kids can play and there are a bunch of other moms, maybe their intention is not for them to make friends with other moms. Maybe their intention is solely for their children to play there. And you might feel a little bit sad if you try to extend the hand to that other person and you try to have a conversation with them, but they put up a cold front, or they do not want to hang out with you outside of that particular activity. So it helps to understand that not everybody has the same purpose, and it helps to understand, and if you have to replay this part of the video, I want you to replay it, that you are loved and you are cared about, and you still have a lot of value, even if somebody doesn't want to be your friend. Like I said, I still have to remind myself about that in this community when I try to be friends with other feminine content creators that don't extend the same hand. And that's okay. So off the topic of putting yourself out there, I want you to understand that I don't want you to just do things in your life in order to make friends. I don't want you to just go to that Pilates class with the intention of making your next best friend. I want you to navigate through life doing things that you actually enjoy. Because when you are doing things that you actually enjoy, it helps you kind of activate your femininity in a way. And when you become a more feminine woman, you become more magnetic, and both men and women in a neutral way will be drawn to your presence because you'll have an inviting spirit. This is going to help you make friends more easily. I like to think about the example of when I was in university. There were certain clubs that I did not want to join on campus. So instead, I decided to create my own clubs. I decided to create my own get-togethers. And some of these were flops and people didn't show up, but others were actually successful and people did show up because I was genuinely interested in these things, and people kept coming back and they saw my vision for that particular group or that particular thing because I was actually engaging in activities that I liked. The next thing I want to talk to you about goes back to vulnerability. When you begin cultivating a friendship with people, you have to have a type of openness towards the other person. This doesn't mean that you reveal all of your deepest, darkest secrets when you begin talking to that person, but over time you're going to have to show more emotion. You're going to have to show that you care about certain topics, and this is how you're going to truly form a connection with a person. Now, when you're being vulnerable with a friend, chances are perhaps they might say something that you disagree with, or they might say something that hurts you because they have a different opinion than you. This is especially prevalent if you're a homemaker and you might be friends with somebody who lives a different lifestyle. They might regurgitate an opinion about something in the media just because that's kind of what is continuously ingrained in us, and they are out there living in that every single day. I encourage you to give grace to people at least the first time when they might say something that you take a little bit differently, or perhaps you feel a little bit insulted or a little bit angry about. chances are when people say things that might upset you, they're going to sense that it did upset you, and they're probably not going to repeat it, because if that person is simultaneously cultivating a friendship with you, they're not going to want to hurt you. They're going to sense that in you. And we are not perfect. There are things that we say to other people that also can hurt them. The thing is, you're going to want to put boundaries if they continue to say this to you, but give them grace as they're starting to learn who you are as a person in friendship, and you're doing the same to them. The next kind of topic that I want to talk to you about in a future video has to deal with kind of toxic relationships, kind of, I don't like that word, negative relationships, friends, jealousy, envy, all those kinds of things. So if that's something that you want to see, I really hope that you can hit that like button so that I can know that these are topics that you want me to elaborate on. I also know that there's so much more to be said about friendship, creating friendships, and I would love for you to leave a comment down below on your experiences, how you have done this, maybe what has worked, what has not worked. Every time you leave a comment, I smile. I actually do, unless it's a negative comment. Then I don't smile. I actually get angry. So, I will see you next time. I love you all, feminine women. Bye bye.